My name is Day Pope. I'm the Director of Civic Engagement with TAKE and the co-director of the PA Coalition for Trans Youth, which were some of the main people that put on this event today. We're so excited to have so many people here, people still filing in, so we're just so grateful that you're here. Today is Trans Day of Visibility, and this rally is such an important chance for us to come together, to have something joyful and celebratory, and to hear from some of the most amazing trans and non-binary leaders around the state right now. Even as we come together, there are some who are trying to move forward legislation that attacks trans kids in the state Senate on Trans Day of Visibility. And so we need to tell them loud and clear that we're not going back. I want to introduce our first speaker, AJ Scruggs, who's a dedicated advocate, organizer, and social media strategist committed to uplifting trans communities. Welcome, AJ.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. All right, I don't have to do my call and response remarks today. It's good to see you all here. Thank you for joining us for this TDUV event. My name is AJ Scruggs, and my pronouns are he, they, and Kyng. And I stand before you today on this Trans Day of Visibility, a day dedicated to celebrating and uplifting the voices, experience, and resilience of trans and non-binary people everywhere. Today, we recognize the progress we've made and the battles we continue to fight, and the future that we hope to shape together. But most importantly, we are here to affirm that every student, regardless of gender identity or identity, deserve to be seen, heard, and respected in every classroom, hallway, and school across Pennsylvania. This is why I speak about the Safe and Equal Schools Bill package, legislation designed to ensure that all students, especially trans and non-binary students, have the right to a safe and affirming education. And these bills are not just policies on paper. They are a promise that no student should feel unsafe, unheard, or erased in a place meant to nurture learning and growth. We know that when students are supported, they thrive. When schools implement inclusive policies like these bills, respecting students' names and pronouns, ensuring access to safe facilities, and protecting them from discrimination, we see real change in mental health outcomes, academic success, and well-being overall. We see students who are not just surviving, but thriving in spaces that recognize them for who they are. But again, this isn't just about policies, it's about people. It takes teachers, administrators, school staff who are empowered to stand with and for their students. It takes communities that refuse to allow fear and ignorance to dictate how we educate our young people. It takes lawmakers who are willing to say that every child, no matter their identity, is worth fighting for. Too many students are still being left behind, and we know the statistics. Trans and non-binary youth face higher rates of bullying, mental health challenges, and even homelessness due to rejection and discrimination. But the statistics don't tell the full story. The full story is in the student who walks into school every single day with the fear of being misgendered, the teacher who wants to support their trans students but is afraid of losing their job, the parents who lie awake at night hoping their child finds a safe space for themselves to be themselves. This is not just policy, it's personal. We have an opportunity right now to make sure that Pennsylvania is a place where every student can learn without fear. The Safe and Equal Schools bills are a critical step in the direction. These bills ensure that students can be themselves without retaliation, that teachers can have resources to provide affirming education, and that schools uphold the values of dignity, respect, and inclusion. So today, on Trans Day of Visibility, let us make our voices heard. Let us remind our lawmakers that visibility is not enough. We need action. Let us remind our communities that inclusion is not a privilege, it's a right. And let us remind our students that they are not alone. We see you, we hear you, and we will fight for you. Thank you all.
Our next speaker is Pastor Angelique Chelton, who serves as the pastor for Pilgrims Mennonite Church in Akron, PA. She is a bivocational pastor, also working as a licensed trauma therapist, but she says her most important role is that of a mom of 5 children, 2 of whom are trans. Welcome, Pastor.
Good afternoon, friends. So as Day said, my name is Pastor Angie Chelton, she, her. I serve as pastor for Pilgrims Mennonite Church in Akron, PA, and in addition, I am a licensed reproductive and perinatal trauma mental health therapist. I sit on the Mental Health and Wellness Committee of Lancaster County Chooses Love, and I volunteer for Power Interfaith Lancaster, but my most important role is as mom to 5 amazing kids, 2 of whom are trans. When I tell folks that I have 2 trans kids, I'm sometimes met with curiosity. People look at me and I can see the question behind their eyes. How did 2 of your kids end up trans? What's that like? And my answer is always that I wound up with 2 trans kids because I am so very blessed.
Yes.
See, all of my children are bright, beautiful beings. They're scouts and volunteers for community organizations. They play sports and run online production companies. They're kind to animals. They love Minecraft, and they groan when I tell terrible dad jokes. They're kind and funny and artistic and intelligent, and a couple of them happen to be trans. It's part of who they are, one dimension of their whole amazing identities. Some people wonder how I can be a Christian and support my trans kids. They wonder, how can you possibly reconcile supporting trans kids with your faith? Friends, my answer is, how could I as a Christian, as a person of faith who lives and breathes in the love of our God, not love and advocate for my babies?
Thank you. Thank you. That was easy. That was easy. Thank you.
God gave me a mother's heart, fierce and dedicated to their well-being. I'm here this afternoon with an urgent message for trans people, people of faith, and people in positions of public power. Trans people are beloved by God, and
Say it again.
trans people are beloved by God, and trans children deserve love, protection, and care from their parents, their schools, their churches, and their communities. These truths are not just moral imperatives. They are a divine call to justice rooted in the very heart of the Christian faith. So throughout Scripture, we find a God who delights in diversity, a creator who calls each of us fearfully and wonderfully made. God does not make mistakes. Each person is a reflection of the divine image, and this includes trans people. God created trans people because God has a future and a hope for you. You are not a mistake. You are a holy reflection of God, and we have the privilege to encounter you. Jesus models a radical love that transcends boundaries. He welcomed those that society sought to marginalize. When Philip, the Ethiopian eunuch, a gender-diverse person, When Philip met the Ethiopian eunuch, a gender-diverse person, he did not question their worthiness. Instead, Philip baptized them without hesitation, demonstrating that they belong in the family of God and showing us that God's love embraces all, calls all, and affirms all. To deny the dignity of trans people is to deny the expansiveness of God's welcome. I believe that people of the Christian faith are called to love and to protect their LGBTQ children. The Bible calls parents to raise their children in love and wisdom, not in fear or rejection. Proverbs 22 reminds us to train up a child in the way they should go. This does not mean forcing children into rigid molds, but rather guiding them in their truth, in the way they should go, in who God made them to be. It means recognizing and supporting the unique identities and giftedness of each child as a revelation of God's will for us. Jesus, too, shows us what it means to embrace children with radical love. In Mark 10, he rebukes those who would turn children away, saying, "Let the little children come unto me, and do not hinder them." To love a child as Jesus did means affirming who they are, welcoming them, ensuring they are safe, and advocating against opposition for their right to flourish. Parents are called to be the first shelter against harm. It is a sacred duty to protect trans children from a world that demonizes them. To reject a trans child is to wound the image of God in them. To affirm and support them is to embody the commandment of love. The prophets of Scripture cry out against systems of injustice, demanding that the most vulnerable be protected. Micah 6:8 tells us to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly. There is a charge to actively work for justice, to create a society where all children, including trans children, can live without fear. And Jesus tells us that we will answer for the way we care for the vulnerable. In Matthew 25, he declares, "Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me." How then can we allow trans children to suffer discrimination, violence, or abandonment in our homes, in our schools, in our churches, or in our communities? To stand by while they are harmed is to stand against the heart of Christ's message that we are all precious, that we are all wanted, that we are all loved. We, all of us, school boards, legislators, churches, communities, and families, we all bear a responsibility to ensure that trans children grow up in safety and dignity. Laws should protect them, not target them. Classrooms should affirm them, not erase them. Faith communities and homes should welcome them, not cast them out. Friends, I believe that God calls us to love, and love is not passive. Love is action. Love is advocacy. Love is standing up for the most vulnerable. To be followers of Christ is to be champions of justice. To be parents and communities where all are celebrated is to embrace trans children as beloved and worthy of our protection. I answer those who wonder how I can support my LGBTQ kids by saying, my children are a gift to the world.
Amen. Yes. Amen.
May we, in our words and actions, our deeds, proclaim a love so bold that it leaves no one behind. May we reflect the heart of love in this world, ensuring that all God's children, including our trans children, are cherished, protected, and free. Amen, and may it be so.
Our next speaker, Rain Black, MPH, CPH, is an unenrolled Choctaw and Cherokee descendant. They are two-spirit, autistic watercolor and beadwork artists and he works as a community educator and organizer in the Lehigh Valley. Welcome.
Halito, Chifo Yut Rain Black, Chata Chalaki, Michi Tobi Sia, Shigi Udanto Sia. Hi, my name is Rain Black, and I'm an unenrolled Choctaw and Cherokee descendant mixed with white. I am two-spirit and transgender. Thank you for letting me speak part of my language with you. It's really special to be able to do that with people because it's been outlawed previously. I ask you to feel with me the land beneath your feet. We are standing on the ancestral home of the Munsee, Lenni Lenape, and Conestoga Susquehannock people. These lands were stolen from them for the benefit of white settlers and colonizers who used the doctrine of discovery to justify their theft by claiming they were less than because we're not white nor Christian. The same thing happened all over Turtle Island, or North America, as well as South America. While today we are talking about trans rights, our fight is tightly woven into the history of this country. Many colonizing Europeans specifically targeted our two-spirit people because of our role in community and the breakdown in society that comes when we're no longer there. Our blood is soaked into the earth below us. Our culture was stolen from us. They cut our hair, they beat our language out of us. They killed our two-spirit people with dogs. They traumatized us so deeply that even thinking about being Indigenous was painful. And these stories repeat today. These attacks on trans youth are the same thing, in a different font, in a different format. It is the same thing. These messages that we are less than and not worthy of love and care, it is the same tired attempt to break down our communities by targeting what we represent: authenticity, strength, and self-love. We were our community's healers, ceremonial guides, and so much more. We were beloved in our communities. That history can be reclaimed as a balm to what has been done to us, what will be done to us. We are our community's bridges between not only each other, but to possibility. Any young Indigenous people in the audience, I encourage you to reconnect with your people, even if it's difficult. Your truth is in our shared blood, in everything that we stand for today. Your right to live and love authentically is ingrained in how our people have always lived historically. It's your birthright, so take it, unashamed and with joy. Colonization has harmed our communities, but we can make a difference through visibility and action. You being alive today is because your ancestors fought for you. They never gave up on the possibility that you might live freely as they were not able to. You have so much more power than you think, whether it's legislative action or engaging in mutual aid. You are the future. You are the possibility in all of this. Your power is in supporting community, so I ask you to be that bridge to beauty and hope that we so desperately need, and walk back on that road that we were forced to walk so long ago, right back into your ancestors' welcoming arms. Yukoke Fenahoke. Thank you.
Ciora Thomas is our next speaker. She's a Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania native and founder and executive director of Sisters PGH, an organization she founded in 2013 in response to her own struggles as a teenage homeless sex worker navigating a system that preys on trans youth homelessness, drug addiction, and transphobia. Faced with limited opportunities to thrive independently as a Black trans adolescent, Ciora made her own way with Sisters PGH. Welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. When I say trans, you say power. Trans, 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 trans. All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ciora Thomas, and I'm the founder and executive director of Sisters PGH. We are a Black trans woman-led organization based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Thank you. Today on Trans Day of Visibility, I'm here not just to be visible, but to be heard and to demand that you hear the voices of those that often don't get the mic. Because the truth is, we've always been visible. But y'all have chosen not to see us. To our Black and brown trans youth across Pennsylvania, especially those in the hood, in the rural towns, in foster care, in shelters, or sleeping on the couches, just trying to survive. This moment is for you. I see you, we see you, and we are fighting for you. You deserve safety. You deserve home. You deserve community. You deserve to grow into your full self, not in spite of Pennsylvania, but with full support of it. And not someday, but right now. That's why I'm here to speak on behalf of our Protecting TLGBTQIA Youth from Homelessness Act. I put together a legislative package built from the lived experiences of our community and especially our young trans youth in Pennsylvania. This package is not just a statement of values, it's a lifeline. It recognizes that our youth are not just vulnerable because they're queer or trans, but because the systems meant to protect them have failed again and again. And while Pennsylvania has made progress with the Pennsylvania Human Relations Act protecting us from housing discrimination, and the efforts like the LGBTQ Youth Mental Health Protection Act, banning conversion therapy, we know that legal protections alone are not enough. You can have non-discrimination policies on paper, but if the trans teen can find affirming housing, if they're being misgendered in shelters, if there's no one trained to meet their needs, that protection is hollow. The Protecting TLGBTQIA Youth from Homelessness Act doesn't replace those laws, it strengthens them. It says, let's fund transitional housing for TLGBTQIA youth. Let's ensure staff are trained in trauma-informed, gender-affirming care. Let's end real accountability and visibility into the systems that serve our young people. Because if we're truly invested in the futures of TLGBTQIA youth, then we must fund and protect those futures. So to every legislator listening today, this is not a partisan issue. Rather, you're a Democrat, Republican, or independent. You know we exist. You know we exist. We're sitting right in front of you. There is no excuse for inaction. If you say you support trans youth, then we need your name on this legislative package in support. We need you to sign it, support it, share it, and fight for it. And when we fight together, we get it on the House floor. And if it doesn't pass this time, we'll be back. We'll keep coming back again and again and again and again and again and again and again. Because the survival of our youth depends on it. Now, let me be clear. Being trans is not a mental illness. Being trans is not a mental illness. What in fact is the mental health crisis is transphobia. Transphobia is the illness that's running unchecked through school boards, city councils, and state houses. It's a mental health disorder that convinces people to fear us, to dehumanize us, to criminalize our existence. And I'm calling on mental health professionals across the state. Name it, treat it, fight it. 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 Transphobia is the problem, not our identities. At Sisters PGH, we have been addressing these problems on the ground for over a decade. We operate Monica Roberts Place, which provides private one-bedroom apartments for Black and brown trans people who are either experiencing homelessness or struggling with housing affordability. We also run Project T, our transitional housing program specifically for Black trans women and girls in and around Allegheny County. And I also want to take a moment to give a huge shout out to our Project T coordinator, Egypt Green. Thank you, Egypt, for your commitment and leadership as you step into this vital role to provide the futures for Black trans women and girls in that program. We also expanded to the Stonewall Inn in downtown Pittsburgh. Y'all hear me? We are opening a Stonewall Inn in downtown Pittsburgh. A trans-centered drop-in space providing resources, community, and care right in the heart of the city. And now we've just launched our behavioral health services because we know the importance of culturally competent, affirming care. We do this work not for attention, but because our people need it. And we don't want to hide who we are to get support. We don't want to change our name or erase the words trans from our programs just to be funded. We want you to fund us because we're trans-led, not in spite of it. And let's talk about something we're all seeing before I wrap up. The great migration of trans people across this country. A wave of movement has begun. Trans people fleeing hostile states, forced to seek safety, resources, and survival in places like Pennsylvania. At Sisters PGH, we have the data to show it. We first saw it during COVID-19 as crisis intensified. Our people began arriving, even in Pittsburgh, in higher numbers. We saw folks coming from everywhere, and especially the South, seeking safety, housing, food, hormone access, and community. And guess what? Most of the trans people we serve at Sisters PGH aren't even originally from Pittsburgh. This migration has only intensified under the current administration. Philadelphia, Allegheny County, we are absorbing that weight. And trans-led and queer-led organizations are holding it down on the ground. Yes. Yes. We are the first responders for trans Pennsylvanians and for those who find themselves here fleeing injustice. But here's the truth. We can't keep doing more with less. We need real, sustained state funding that is accessible to trans-led organizations. Because for far too long, the pie has only been sliced up for cis-led mainstream queer organizations, while trans people, and especially Black and brown trans people, are left scraping for crumbs. It's time for the state to share the pie, so we can actualize a real continuum of care around the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. One that doesn't leave our people falling through the cracks or should I say the potholes of Pennsylvania. Yeah, I said it. And to our trans youth across Pennsylvania, especially our Black, brown, white, and indigenous youth, hear me when I say this. You are not alone. We have a whole community standing behind you, fighting for you, building for you, and protecting you. From Pittsburgh to Harrisburg, from Philly to rural towns, we are here, and we are staying here. We are fighting for a future where you don't have to explain yourself, where you don't have to defend your right to live, where your name, your pronouns, your identity are affirmed without question. And one day, the fight will be yours. When we are no longer here to speak, when our voices are tired, when our time has passed, you will carry the torch. So I want to leave you with the tools to carry it. Know your rights and protect them fiercely. Tell your truth because your story can change lives. Build community because in each other we find strength. Demand more from your schools, from your cities, from your states, from your elected officials, from your legislators, from your mayors, from your governors. Demand more. And above all, never shrink yourself to fit into places that were never made for you. To our legislators, do your job. Sign this bill, share it, fight for it, support the people doing the work, not just when the cameras are on, but when lives are on the line. To my parents of trans kids, love your children, protect them, affirm them. Do not let your fear cost them their future. Refusing to affirm your child is abuse, and we need to call it what it is. To the allies, especially under this new administration, we need you to fight. Not just with hashtags, but with action. And finally, be visible, be loud, be encouraged. Even when we face opposition, be encouraged. Even when hatred tries to silence us, be encouraged. Even when the sting of transphobia tries to take our spirit, be encouraged. Because while they try to shrink our presence, while they try to say our community is small, we are vast. We are everywhere. From the back roads to the boardrooms, from the shelters to the Senate floors, our community stretches across the state, this country, and this world. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are not an afterthought. You are powerful, and you are the future. So stand tall, speak loudly, be encouraged, and in the words of our trailblazer and a board member of Sisters PGH, Marissa Miller, I want you to repeat after me. Trans power, trans power, trans power, trans power, trans power, trans power, trans power. Osei.
Our next speaker, Saint Osei Valentino, is a 24-year-old community organizer from Washington, PA, the executive director and founder of BLAC, the Black Liberation Autonomous Collective. Welcome, Saint.
Hello, good afternoon. How y'all doing? I didn't hear everybody say hello. How you doing? Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, thank you, thank you. Oftentimes, we hear that being trans is new, yet looking around right here, I see aunts, uncles, nephews, nieces, daughters, sons, children. And to do an even more deep dive, Akule, Agule, Insagoma, Bayanzi. These are a few terms of endearment to describe trans plus people existing in West and Central African kingdoms and tribes prior to colonization and imperialism. Our history is anything but new. And not only have we only existed, we have a legacy of strength and have been at the forefront of change. Reverend Dr. Pauli Murray, a Black, gender-expansive, intersex individual, was a part of the backbone to working to end segregation on public transportation in the 1930s. Frances Thompson, a Black trans woman who advocated for the rights of all women way before anyone else did in the 1860s. Alexander John Goodrum was a Black trans man that fought for human rights, as well as a writer and educator in the 1970s. People are comfortable when we're not visible. We're out of sight and out of mind. Constantly being used as a scapegoat to distract people from the real 1% that causes harm. We are also used as a cover by institutions with ill intentions that pretend to do the work, yet cause trans folks further trauma. Yet we woke up this morning and decided to be here anyhow. We are much more than stories of struggle and pain and statistics. We are artists, we're creators, we're dancers, we're chefs, we're teachers, we're designers, we're dreamers. Our laughter, our love, and our ability to still find beauty and joy in this world speaks for itself. And that joy, that creativity, that resilience, it's proof that we're not going nowhere. Visibility is not just about being seen. It's about choosing to take up space, to be present, to exist on our own terms. And sometimes that means pushing ourselves beyond what feels comfortable. So I have a challenge for all my siblings here, all my community here. I dare everyone to speak to someone that you don't know, share social media handles, share numbers, learn their name, where they're from, their age, because we need that. And to our allies, listen here, listen, please. We need more than allies. We need accomplices. We need accomplices. While both ally and accomplice imply support, an accomplice actively participates in the struggle, often risking their own comfort to change the systems. Please reflect on what you are doing outside of social media and what you are doing day to day to fight for gender-expansive folks. I'm Saint Osei Royalty Valentino, sorry. Thank you, I'm just nervous. I'm Saint Osei Royalty Valentino, founder of the Black Liberation Autonomous Collective. Thank you for being here, thank you for listening to me. Much solidarity and much love. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Lex Horwitz, is a passionate, queer, non-binary, transgender, and Jewish LGBTQ educator who first came to prominence when they competed for the varsity men's squash team at Bowdoin College as the first transgender athlete in all of collegiate squash and the first out transgender athlete to compete at Bowdoin. Welcome, Lex.
Hey everyone. This is amazing. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Lex. My pronouns are he, they, and I'm a person of queer and trans experience. And I use that person first language because with my identities, I'm so many other things. I'm an animal lover, I'm a cat enthusiast, I love exploring nature and the city. I'm an athlete, a collegiate athlete, a current competitive athlete, and I also coach middle and high school sports. I am a whole person. And no one will ever take that away from me. And so I'm gonna share a little part of my story with y'all today. And it's also a reminder that I am one of millions of folks of queer, non-binary, and trans experience. Yes. And so this is my story, and I hope that it can resonate with some folks here so that you feel seen and loved and affirmed and validated. Or if you don't share those experiences, you now have a window and a perspective that was not yours prior to, but that you can use that to move past just allyship, which can be performative, into advocacy. Because advocacy requires action in the same way that our friends were talking about being an accomplice in this work. So as I'm sharing parts of my journey, I want you to think about ways in which you can put different privileges into action to support us in being able to just exist. And that's why I use person first language, because I just want to exist. I'm a person. And I shouldn't have to fight to exist because I deserve to thrive. And no matter what folks are going to do across our culture and society, I'm going to thrive, not despite or in spite of who I am, but because of the person that I am. And so to all of the non-binary and trans people that are here or see this, I want you to know that wherever you are on your journey, you are loved, you are exactly where you need to be. There is not one right way to exist. You're existing your way, and that will always be the right way. There's no... Okay. Thank you. There's not one path. There's no such thing as being queer enough or trans enough. And I am in my personal life and in my professional life, a queer educator, consultant, and public speaker. And I feel more times than not that I'm not queer enough or I'm not trans enough. And so I can imagine that that's a shared experience of all of us. And I'm here to say that that is not true. That's what folks want us to feel. If you wake up every day as you do, you are enough. And waking up every single day and doing what you can is an act of resistance and resilience. I do not know how to describe the absolute beauty and empowerment it is to get to be a trans and queer person. But being able to simply show up and exist is that act of resistance and resilience. So a little part about me. I knew my identities from a really young age. I knew that I was not a girl when I was around like 2-3 years old, but I didn't have the language to know that especially non-binary people or trans people existed. And I also did not have the affirming, positive representation that you could be queer, non-binary, and trans. And I also didn't have the safer space to be able to be my authentic self. And so those are the three pieces. Those are the pieces of the puzzle that every individual here can bring into their communities as a part of their allyship and their advocacy, because we need that language that's inclusive and affirming, right? That getting rid of that binary language, that gendered language to include all of us. Being able to model and signal support in nonverbal ways, like taking these signs back home with you and putting it in your office, in your classroom, wherever you may be. Wearing something like this trans flag shirt when you're walking down the street because you're signaling that you're a safer person for that stranger that you smiled to. What are the ways that we get to model and signal that support? Because I didn't see that, but we have so many more youth that are able to come and be their authentic selves because they see the positive representation. They see queer, non-binary, and trans people existing. They have the language and they have those safer spaces. So what can you do every single day to be that person for our community? That is a huge part of the work. So although I knew that I was not a girl, I did not have the language or those safer spaces or the representation until I got to college. So when I got to college, I first had what I like to call my internal reckoning, because I did know who I was, and now I got to face it, because I had all of the pieces of the puzzle back together again. And so I first came to my queer sexuality, and quickly thereafter realized that there was something genderqueer also about my gender. So I've used lots of different terms and language about my identities, starting with genderqueer, non-binary, trans, shifting and flowing in between all of it. And language is here because it is here to help us build community with folks with similar identities, and also to be that bridge to help us talk with folks that may not share those identities. Raise your hand, folks, if you have the ability to, if you have been impacted by gender. And that's a trick question, y'all, because that's everyone. Right? Whether you are cis or trans, we are all actively being impacted by gender roles, stereotypes, and norms that happen before we're born, with an ultrasound that conflates sex with gender, that starts with gender reveal parties, which are actually sex reveal parties. Think about the ways that you design a child's bedroom before they can tell you what they actually like. Gender is our internal sense of self. It is something that only we know and only we can share. We have to wait for folks to build their own experiences. Children and adults alike We are meant to be blank canvases when we come into this world. But that's a myth, because all of the norms and expectations of all identities are placed onto us. So there's a beauty in getting to be a non-binary and trans person, because we face those norms and those stereotypes, and we find ways to persist and to live as our authentic self. And we get to take back that canvas and make it our own. But that also is something that our cis allies can do too, because we're all restrained by those gender norms and by those stereotypes. So when I was in college, I was competing on the varsity women's squash team, and I was captain. And I very quickly learned that my teammates, although I had some that were supportive, it was not consistent with folks using my name or my pronouns or gender neutral language. So hearing, okay ladies, let's go girls, walking into a locker room that had a stick figure that didn't look like me, day by day started to wear me down and take me out. To the point where my senior year, I knew that I could no longer be in that space. And all it took were my teammates using that gender neutral and inclusive language and being able to see me as the person that I am. But because of that non-inclusive language, I felt because I was erased and ignored and unwelcomed there. So I looked at the eligibility criteria and also knew that I could compete and beat members of the men's team because I was the top player on the women's team. And so I advocated and I switched teams. It's a much longer process, but we can talk later if you want to know about it. Because I knew that there was no option for me to continue to compete on the women's team. It was not an affirming space for me. So I competed on the men's team, and it was the best decision I have ever made. Being able to compete on the men's team, no athlete should have to choose between being their authentic self and participate on the sport that they love.
Exactly. There it is.
Athletics have always been a safe space for me, and I do not know who I would be or where I would be without my experience in athletics. And that's why I'm still a coach. That's why I still compete. We must be supporting trans athletes in competing on the teams that align with our identities. And although we have our binary teams, that means for our non-binary or gender expansive folks, participating on the team that affirms closely their identities. Because it comes back to the fact that inclusion is not enough. It's affirmation. Affirmation, because we deserve to not only be allowed in a space, that's how I see inclusion, but affirmation is a space of belonging and being welcomed. That I'm here not in spite or despite my identities, but because you cherish me and you honor and you treat me with dignity and respect because of me being a whole person. So how do we continue to affirm? How do we continue to affirm? And how do we put those actions every day? Because we deserve love. What is unconditional love? It is talking to the queer, non-binary, and trans community members or strangers and just doing micro affirmations. Say and tell non-binary and trans folks that they are loved, not just on Trans Day of Visibility, not just during Pride, right? This is an everyday practice. So what I want to leave everyone with is there is something that every person, whether you are non-binary, trans, or cis, that you can be doing to be an accomplice, to be an advocate for our community. What does that look like, and how can you show up in that action? Because we deserve that unconditional love. We have always been here. We will always continue to exist. We are here, and we are going nowhere. Thank you.
Next is State Senator Cappelletti. I'll let her introduce herself. She's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I'm State Senator Amanda Cappelletti. I represent parts of Delaware and Montgomery counties. And before I start, I want to acknowledge I have got some great colleagues here with me today. Senator Lindsey Williams. Senator Sharif Street. Senator Carolyn Committa. And my friend, Senator Tim Carney, who unfortunately had to leave, but he was here. Yes. What a beautiful crowd. Thank you guys so much for being here and seeing one another today, because that's what today is really all about. Seeing one another as our authentic selves and welcoming one another with compassion and empathy. I'm Amanda Cappelletti. I use the she, her pronouns. I'm a cisgender woman, and as I mentioned, I represent parts of Delaware and Montgomery counties. I stand here today to represent myself and my Senate Democratic colleagues who have worked with me on a name change package that reforms the process here in Pennsylvania. I've introduced that with Senators Katie Muth, Senator Lindsey Williams, and Senator Tim Carney. Thank you, yes. Yes. These bills are aimed at removing barriers that we know transgender individuals, gender nonconforming individuals, and other members of the LGBTQ community face when they are legally changing their name in this Commonwealth. Since first introducing these bills in 2022, the scapegoating of trans and non-binary people in the service of the rapid dismantling of democracy has increased exponentially. And we would like to be clear, there is no executive action that can change the law or the Constitution. Allow me to be clear again. There is no order and no law that will erase trans people from existence. Beyond deserving to live, trans kids and adults deserve to thrive. Transgender people have the right to live freely and safely, and that includes having legal documents that reflect their authentic selves. The bills in our package are intended to make that just a little bit easier. And as we go forward, we know we have to meet the moment, and that means standing up for what we believe in. And we believe in a future where all Pennsylvanians are treated with respect, where our voices are valued, and we all have the opportunity to thrive no matter our backgrounds or identity. So I, along with my colleagues, Senator Muth, Senator Carney, Senator Lindsey Williams, and I'm going to guess Senator Carolyn Comita and Senator Street and many others in my caucus, we will continue to fight hard to make that a reality for all of you. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Vincent Folkes, is the founder of For the Boys, PGH, an uplifting and supportive self-improvement collective catering to the trans-masculine community. Welcome.
Thank you for that introduction. I think back to when I was a kid, when black, gay, white, straight, cis, and trans weren't even in my vocabulary. I just knew good and bad. I didn't know that the weight of the world's labels would alter the experience that I had. There was an innocence in being ignorant of what the world would intend for me to be based on who it thought I was. But I remembered the switch in my spirit when I came to that realization, the moment I understood that some people would reduce my humanity to nothing more than their fear of it. I remember how hard it was to pull myself out of that. The isolation I put myself in, trying to fix the rage that I felt in response to the transphobia I was experiencing. And I'm gonna keep it real, I just did that. I just figured that out. So that took a while. That's why I started For the Boys PGH, to create spaces where trans-masculine people could exist fully, to be centered, affirmed, and protected. But as the work has grown, I keep getting the same questions. Aren't you scared? But what if? How do you? But? And my answer is the same. I'm not scared. Scared of what? I decide what it is, what I do, how I feel, and how I move toward the goalposts in my future. A future where transphobia is defeated by resilience. In the last year or so, there have been hundreds of anti-trans and LGBTQ bills. In our state, there has been 40, many of them specifically targeting transgender youth, threatening their health care, education, and right to exist safely. Right now, Pennsylvania lawmakers are considering bills that would ban gender-affirming care for minors, prevent trans youth from playing on sports teams that align with their gender. When lawmakers take away the access to care and safe spaces, they are not protecting children. They are putting them in harm's way. These bills threaten every child, not just trans youth. The black boy with soft features and delicate hands, criminalized for his femininity. The black girl with strong bone structure and a deeper voice, questioned for simply existing. The children who don't fit into the rigid boxes of the world that they built. And it doesn't even stop with children, because these children will grow up to be leaders. They will grow up to be mothers, fathers, best friends, and thought leaders. And they will carry with them the reality that someone's opinion about their humanity was enough to create hate-filled policies. Children who had no say in the rights being stripped from them are affected by. To the youth watching and listening today, hear me clearly. No bill will stop the world from turning. You still have a life ahead of you, a full one, filled with love, joy, and freedom to move as you please with good intent. No bill can erase the sun from rising or the stars from falling, and no law can stop you from dreaming as big as you can dream, because the future is still yours. You will grow. You will grow. You will continue to laugh. You will fall in love, and you are loved here, right now. You will find community and build a life that reflects you, not the fear projected onto you. And when it feels heavy, when the world makes you feel like you're walking this road alone, remember that you are not. The journey will have highs and lows. There will be days when you feel invincible and days where you feel small. But no matter how you feel, you are not alone, because we all end up feeling the same things, trans or not. And if you ever look around and you don't see the community that you need, create it. Build the spaces where you and others can breathe, be seen, and safe. A future where transphobia is defeated by resilience. Understand that resilience is not always loud. Sometimes it's just waking up and trying a little bit more than you did yesterday. Visibility is powerful, and it reminds us that we are not alone, that we belong. But visibility without protection makes us vulnerable. It makes trans children easy targets for discrimination. And that's why visibility must be paired with action. Advocating for policies that protect a child's right to healthcare, to education, to safety. Visibility alone is not enough. Contact your representatives. Demand that they oppose trans legislation. Do you think they'd have their jobs if you weren't here? Do you think they would have their jobs if you did not exist? Do you think they get paid if you didn't exist and your tax dollars were going to them? So, contact them as many times as you need to. Show up at the school board meetings. Push for trans inclusive policies. Support trans-led organizations like the ones here today. Volunteer, donate, and amplify the work that they already do. Use your platforms. Share trans youth stories and call out harmful policies all over the state. In every industry that you can think of, they are there. They might be discreet, but that does not mean that they're not there. We are strongest when we show up together. Protection is not a privilege, it is a right. And until every trans child in Pennsylvania can walk into school, their doctor's office, and their home knowing they are safe, we will not stop fighting. Because trans futures is a future worth fighting for. Thank you.
Our next speaker, Hailey Dunn, is a proud transgender veteran of the United States Air Force, where she served with distinction for 4 years. Welcome, Hailey.
Thank you, everyone, for coming today. Now, I'm not one that's much for politics. I'm a simple woman. And a lot of that confuses me, so I tend to stay away from that. So I'm here to share my story with you and tell you where I came from and hope that that shows the representatives and the senators that we come from all walks of life. We come from everywhere. Growing up, I grew up in a very conservative and Christian household in southern Lancaster County. And unfortunately, the church that I grew up in was not one that was very LGBT friendly. So throughout all of my school days, up until I joined the military when I was 19, I had the same mentality that a lot of Christians and conservatives do now, is that people that are part of the LGBT community, they have a mental illness, or that there's something wrong with them, that they are not people, for lack of a better term. And it took me until I joined the military to realize that's not true. Even if they're different, they're still people. They still deserve to exist. I still deserve to exist. I wasn't able to start experimenting myself until I was about 20 years old. At that point, I had identified as non-binary, gender fluid, in that general category, because I wasn't sure of myself. I was just starting out. It wasn't until not even a full year ago, when I met my current partner, that they helped me realize that I am, in fact, a transgender woman. When I told my parents that I was transgender, they didn't take it very well. There was a lot of confusion, and my biological mother, looked at me and said, "You're going to hell, but I still love you anyway." That's not something you should tell your child. Now, granted, when I told her, obviously I was a full-grown adult at this time. I was 26 years old. But still, your child, and I asked her, "Why do you feel that way?" And she said, "Because it goes against my faith and my beliefs." And I looked at her and said, "If your faith and your beliefs are more important than your child, then you need to reevaluate your faith and your beliefs." Because, like I said, I had that same mentality that they did up until I joined the military. And then being in the military, even for the 4 years that I was, showed me that it doesn't matter if you're gay, lesbian, straight, black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you need to be able to trust the person that's standing next to you, and it doesn't matter who they go home to at night, because you all bleed the same color. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Ashleigh Strange, the Executive Director of the Governor's Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. Welcome, Ashleigh.
Hey, great day to be inside. Good afternoon, I'm Ashleigh Strange. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the Executive Director for the Governor's Advisory Commission on LGBTQ Affairs. The Commission and I serve as a conduit between His Excellency, the Right Honorable Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania, and his agencies and the good LGBTQ people here in Pennsylvania. As a trans and non-binary person, I am honored to represent the governor as we celebrate Trans Day of Visibility here at the Capitol. My existence in this role is not the only way that you can tell that the Shapiro administration supports the visibility of trans folks. Right here in this building, we have 3 gender-neutral bathrooms, and over 80 more will be installed by next year in other Commonwealth buildings so that we can continue to build a welcoming, inviting place for everyone working in or visiting our great capital. Our needs as a community are very simple. We want to be happy. Am I right? Yes? Yes? We want to be happy, so the governor has invested $200 million into mental health supports in our schools and is pushing for mental health parity laws to make sure insurers cover mental health services fairly so more Pennsylvanians can afford care. We want to be protected. Yes? Yes. So the governor is proposing new investments to stabilize funding for the Victims' Compensation Assistance Programs to make sure Pennsylvania can help crime victims and survivors through some of the toughest periods of their lives. And we also want to be respected, yes? Yes! The governor knows that people will try to use trans kids as pawns in political games and erase our communities from history, policy, and society. Not around here, partner. No way, yeah. Not around here. That's not how we do things in Pennsylvania. Every agency under the governor's purview is committed to protecting and uplifting the fundamental freedoms of transgender communities here in Pennsylvania. Governor Shapiro has championed legislation like marriage equality and the Fairness Act and urges our legislators to support those bills and others that uplift our community and not tear us down. I assure you that those who seek to erode our freedoms are in the minority here in the Capitol. As the governor says, no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, or who you pray to, you have a place here in Pennsylvania. And together, we'll ensure that all Pennsylvanians have equal protection and opportunity. You can join us by reaching out with your concerns, questions, and support because you have a place at the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashleigh. Last but not least, Alec Walker-Serrano is a dedicated transmasculine community organizer with NEPA Stands Up Queer Liberation Committee. Welcome, Alec.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Day. I love you too. For those of us who are trans, non-binary, queer, migrants, or people of color, visibility can sometimes feel like a double-edged sword. Being outwardly ourselves, something every person craves, can feel like pinning a target to our chest. As a child, I was very afraid of being visible. I wasn't just afraid of people finding out that I didn't fit neatly into the gender binary, but I was also afraid of people knowing the family that I came from. I'm the son of a Mexican immigrant. My late grandfather, Papa Rafael, came to the US as a farm worker under the Bracero program. He worked for many seasons until he could afford visas for my grandmother, Mama Kika, my father, Miguel, Michael, and his siblings. My grandparents never became citizens, but they built a home in the United States, in Southern California, on land that was once a part of Mexico. My family's migration story, not unlike millions of others, began with a deep desire to provide a better life for their children, and eventually their children's children. Growing up in a predominantly white area in Lackawanna and Wyoming counties was at times alienating for me. In many ways, the othering I experienced as a mixed Latina kid mirrored the othering I experienced as a transmasculine teen. I'm so grateful for the invaluable public education that I received, but cruel jests from peers about my gender expression and dehumanizing conversations about so-called illegal immigrants in civics and history classes put a strain on me that should never have existed, that should never exist for any child. I tried to hide, deflect, and pretend rather than embracing who I am. I was afraid that being myself would cost me the love and belonging that I craved. That is to say, to all young trans and queer kids listening, to all of those from immigrant families, I understand your fear, your frustration, and your heartache in this political moment. But what I didn't understand as a kid is that allowing myself to be seen, to be visible, was the only path to being loved authentically. Coming out has brought me more love and connection than I would have ever known otherwise. Embracing my heritage, my father's migration story, has filled me with so much joy, so much pride. When it comes to that double-edged sword of visibility, the side that swings for love, connection, and community is so much sharper, so much stronger. I am grateful to be me. I wouldn't want to be anybody else. Remember this. In our visibility, there is beauty and resilience. In our visibility, we can and will fight for change. I am not going back to fear. We are going forward to freedom. To all the trans and non-binary youth out there, no matter where you are in your journey, no matter what you are struggling with, I am immensely proud of you. I am inspired by you every single day. And if you ever feel alone, I want you to remember the faces and the voices of everyone who stood up here today, because we are with you. You are never alone. We and thousands of other activists, teachers, parents, and community members are fighting for you every step of the way in this Commonwealth. We've got your back, and we are not going back to a time where trans and non-binary kids couldn't be themselves and access the education, the opportunities, and the healthcare that they need and deserve. I know that the world is scary right now, but my dears, you are strong. And when all of us stand together as one, we are even stronger. Stronger than their hate, stronger than their lies. The love that we share in community with one another is strong enough to defeat injustice. When people are under attack, simply because of who they are, where they come from, what they look like, or how they express themselves, we all must be prepared to stand on our principles and fight back. Yes. Yes. On this Transgender Day of Visibility, I want to make a promise to trans and queer youth in this state and this country that I implore all adults listening to make with me. I will not comply with executive orders that attempt to erase you. I will not comply with executive orders that try to take away your freedoms or eradicate your health care. I will resist all attempts to take away your autonomy. I will bring more allies into the fold, and I will educate them on how to best support you. I will listen well and amplify your voices. I will remind you how truly incredible you are in all of your uniqueness, in all of your kindness, in all of your creativity, in all of your strength. I will fight for you so that you can go back to being a kid. If you've ever heard me speak before, you'll know that something I reference frequently is the importance of drawing strength and inspiration from the transgender and queer folks who came before us, who fought their own battles so that we might stand here and fight ours. Today, I'm thinking about Emilio Robles Avila, a transgender man and one hell of a marksman. In the early 20th century, Emilio played a key role in the Mexican Revolution as a Zapatista colonel. He commanded his own troops, leading them into several battles and winning. Emilio was quoted as saying he felt the sensation of being completely free while fighting for revolution, something he never felt living his life as a woman in his hometown. His story never ceases to inspire me to keep fighting the battle for liberation for all of us. There is a long history in the United States of marginalized communities resisting injustice. Rather than complying with immoral laws, those who came before us had the courage to defy, to reject, to resist. We must look injustice in the face and say no. No law can erase us. No executive order can tell us that our existence is illegal. I'll leave you with a quote from one of my favorite books, a classic of high school English classes, To Kill a Mockingbird. Something that Atticus Finch says to his tween son, Jem. I wanted you to see what real courage is. It's when you know you're licked before you begin, but you begin anyway, and you see it through, no matter what. Elders, let's show our trans and non-binary youth what courage looks like. We will not retreat in the face of injustice. We will move forward with conviction. When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. When trans rights are under attack, what do we do? Stand up like that. Thank you.
Can we hear it for all of our speakers? I have just to bring Dina Stanley up for one call to action to close us out. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Okay, I like that. I like what I'm hearing. First of all, give a round of applause to everybody who spoke today, because it takes nerve. It takes nerve to get up here. But y'all, we are under attack. Our trans babies are under attack right now. UPMC has stopped accepting folks that need gender affirming care. Shame. Shame. And it's trans babies today, but it will be us tomorrow. And we will not allow this injustice to happen, will we? No. Will we? No. Exactly, that's what I like to hear. So Trans Uniting, which I am the executive director and founder of, and my pronouns are she and her if I did not say that, yes, God. We are having a protest, a rally, let's say a rally, yes. And it's gonna be throughout the whole entire state of Pennsylvania. We're gonna stand together and let UPMC know that we are not going to tolerate this. You're not going to take away the health care for the children. No, you will not. I encourage all of you to find your local UPMC closest to you. And Jason over here that's waving those pretty little flyers, get a flyer. We have a toolkit together. We want everybody to stand up and say no to this. So, I have one other thing to address. Senate Bill 9, that's happening right now. Anybody in the Northeast, you need to call your senator now. We can never, ever take no's for granted, ever. There are senators that right now have this bill and will vote for our trans babies not to be able to do what they want to do in these schools. And are we going to stand for that? No. I can't hear y'all, and I need them to hear you as well. Are we going to stand for that? No. All right. So today, I need you to talk to all of the senators while you're in the Capitol and tell them to vote against Senate Bill 9. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming. Stick around if you can. Otherwise, happy Trans Day of Visibility, everyone.
Hi, my name is Jinx Leonard. This is Caleb. We're here at the Capitol in Harrisburg, PA for NEPA Stands Up for the Trans Day of Visibility. Now, Caleb, flash your titty. Yeah, we're here for the Trans Day of Visibility. We're telling the legislators to say no against all those anti-LGBT laws attacking our trans youth. Caleb, what are you here for?
I'm here to be an ally and support my trans comrades that are here fighting for their right to have individual freedom, have the choice to be who that they are, not the choice, but to be who they are without having to fear for state repression, taking away their individuality and their personality.
Death before detransition, baby. We ain't going back.
It's important for everybody to come out and stand in solidarity with our trans allies because they're the most marginalized, they're the most targeted. We need to use our privilege and our ability to stand up and say fuck no. To say no when they're trying to take away the rights of our comrades. We need to be on the front line. We need to be the ones in the face of our representatives telling them we are not going to accept them taking away the rights of those who are less privileged in our society.
I'm going to tell you right now, you know someone who's trans. You know someone you love is trans. If you don't, you know me. I'm Jinx Jam Fam Leonard, man. I've been here. I've been through the ringer, and I ain't going back, and you should support us. Support us. We're here. Today's all day. For the kid who's doesn't know if they want to transition, just do it. You don't know until you try, baby. You can always go back if it's not for you. Speak your truth.
Be yourself.
Be yourself.
Don't let anybody tell you you can't be who you want to be. Be yourself.